Alright, so you want to learn endgames but not sit through hours of bullshit. Today I'm going to be covering every theoretical endgame that I think you should know as an intermediate player below maybe 1800, especially in longer time controls. By learning to convert positions with only a few pieces on the board, you're going to be able to evaluate whenever trades are beneficial, which really guides your late middle games, and the concepts also apply with added material, right? So let's start with a classic king and pawn endgame. Now, here black's king is very active. He's controlling the promotion square and about to just blockade our pawn forever. So we have to be precise, and there is only one move for white, which wins, and it wins immediately. That is king d5. It may look a little strange, but this is a tactic which we call opposition. Opposition is when kings are facing each other with an odd number of squares between them, usually just one, right? And the point is that it's black's move, and black has to go somewhere, and wherever he goes, he lets our king in. If he moves back, we do it again. And once our king is here, we just push our pawn and it's over. So in king and pawn endgames, the person who wins opposition generally gets their favored result. And it's really important that white gets their king in somewhere in this area before they start pushing this pawn. If you play d5 immediately, black is in time, and in the end of the line, if we just keep pushing, we get this position. And here, white either has to lose the pawn, or they play king d6, it's a stalemate. That's why you need to bring your king in first and then push the pawn. Similarly, if we play king e5, black now can take opposition. And here it's a dead draw for the same reason. We keep pushing and the same position arises. It's a forced stalemate. Now, the next concept we're going to discuss is called the rule of the square. Basically, we draw a square with the pass pawn and its promotion square, like this. And essentially, if the defender's king can enter this square, they're in time to stop the pawn. So with black to move, they're in time to enter, and they can stop the pawn. But if it were white's move, they could promote. Here we're going to be discussing a very common endgame tactic called a breakthrough sacrifice. Basically, the idea is that material doesn't matter as long as we win the promotion race. And in this position, white is with g5. After takes, we just push and we win. A second example, which is a little more tricky, here we have completely symmetrical structures, but white is winning with the move b6. Now, no matter how black takes, one of these files is going to open up, and the only defender is the b7 pawn. So after takes, we can deflect the only defender away, and now we have a pass pawn. Despite being 2 pawns down, we're winning. And same as if they take, we again deflect this pawn. No matter what they do, we're promoting. Now, the final pattern we're going to discuss in king and pawn endgames is called the trebuchet. After king d4, king f5, we reach the trebuchet, and this position is very common and unique in that whoever's move it is right now automatically loses. Here it is black's move, and we have to move away from our pawn, and now we're just in a losing king and pawn endgame. That is why it's very important not to get greedy and start, moving towards the center, right? The only move for black to win immediately is king d3. And again, when white defends the pawn, we reach the trebuchet, but now it's white's move. Now, apart from two exceptions, all minor piece and pawn endgames are winning for the side with a piece and pawn, right? And that is because, unlike in pawn endgames, when black takes opposition like this, normally this position is a draw, right? We either lose the pawn or we stalemate. But because we have the extra piece, black is forced away and we just promote. And that works the same with a knight as well, right? So the two exceptions are when we have an H or a pawn, and the color of the bishop does not match the promotion square. Because there's no way for us to check the king and force him away from the promotion square, right? We have no moves. This is all stalemate. So if we shuffle, he can just go back and forth and it's a draw, right? Same thing with the knight endgame. After king h8, if we ever move our king closer, we're covering this square and now it's stalemate. So there's no, he can just shuffle back and forth and it's a draw. So all endgames are winning with minor piece and pawn, except bishop of the wrong color with a flank pawn, or flank pawn on the 7th or 2nd rank, defended only by the knight. Now on to rook endgames. These can be pretty notoriously difficult to win, just because of the threat of the defending side just checking your king constantly. And white would love to be able to just move their king away and push the pawn, but it's not going to happen right now. So here we start by giving a check. The point is, if he stays close, now we can hide behind his king. There's no more checks and we can just push. So black's king is forced away. And now we get the very important move, rook f4. This may look a little strange at the moment, but it will make sense. After black just plays a waiting move, they have nothing. Here we play king e7 and we zigzag our king, avoiding the checks. And now we can block with the rook, which is why we placed it here. Here, black is just lost. The king is too far away to stop promotion. It's over. And there's nothing here, right? So the way you win is to put your rook on this square precisely, and then zigzag your king up. We call it building the bridge, so that you can cover checks with your rook. So because of Lucina position, black needs to prevent white's king from reaching here and just pushing the pawn behind it. So the easiest way for black to do this is what is known as Philidor defense. That is when the rook is on the 6th file, preventing anything from pushing. And here, after, let's say, check, we move away. Always you want your king to be in front of this pawn, even if it gets pushed back a bit. Because here, if white ever pushes this pawn, now we're in time to go down and we just give them checks to the end of the game, and it's a dead draw. So when it's possible, always put your rook on the 6th file. If Philidor defense is unavailable and white can push forward, we need to remember to put the rook staring at the pawn always. And after king f6, notice that there is a long side and a short side. It would, no matter what pawn it is, there's always going to be a long and a short side. And it's important to remember that the only drawing move is to go to the short side. And we leave the long side open for checks. So here after check, we move to the side. Now we're in time to check, and now it's a draw. But if we went to the long side instead, then after check, white can just go for Lucina position. Just push their pawn, push their king, and it's over. So remember short side defense. Now, generally you want your rook supporting your pawn from behind, but sometimes that's not always possible. Here we have a draw, but black needs to be precise. So if they ever move their king, like here, we get a check, and now it is game over with a promotion. Similarly, if their black tries to run their king towards, we have this nasty move, rook h8, and after they take, it's a skewer. So black's king needs to stay here. They can't run it anywhere. Similarly, if they just waste time and white tries to bring their king, we can just shuffle on the A file. And now there is no cover for checks, so we just keep checking, and it's a draw. Queen versus pawn on the 6th or 3rd rank is pretty easily winning for the queen. After check, for example, you want to put your queen on the promotion square and then just bring the king. But when the pawn is on the 7th rank or 2nd rank, it gets a little trickier. So here we have to find a series of precise checks, and the goal is to get black's king to be in front of his own pawn or pinned. So after check, he moves, check. Now we're attacking the pawn, he has to move back, check, and he's stuck. So this gives us time to move our king. And slowly, we're just going to keep bringing our king after a series of checks where we're preventing black from pushing. So, for example, we get it again, we move our king again. We get it again, we move our king again. We just keep doing that and over until we can win this pawn and mate. To finish up the video, I wanted to discuss a few practical examples and apply the concepts we've learned. So here, I'd like you to pause the video and try and figure out whether bishop takes, king takes is winning for white and why. Alright, so after takes, white has a couple options available. They can infiltrate in this direction, take the pawn and promote, or they have opposition. Here, if white plays king c5, black has this very important clearance sacrifice, g5, and now white loses. black just wins the race. So here we have to play king e5. It's the only option. If he goes this way, we win these 2 pawns, promote, and we're winning. And if he plays king f7, we wait. And again, we're just getting to the pawn, we're pushing. And when we play it out, after it takes, we just push the pawn. And if this pawn didn't exist, black would be stalemated after this move, but now he's forced to move. So we just take, he's forced to move, and we win this race. Here we have a classical game between Magnus Carlsen as white and Alireza Firouzja. In the game, Firouzja took and misevaluated this king and pawn endgame. The point being, after this position, Magnus has the gangster move king f4. The point of this is that if black ever moves up, we take our position and then we infiltrate. And if they just wait, then we can always take this. And now we're in time to take our position like this. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I tried to cover as much as possible. Go get some wins.